Welcome to today's deep dive. We are tackling a massive 2026 internet search trend today that has just been completely taking over our feeds lately. We are asking the big question, is ProDentim a scam?
Yeah, it's definitely a question a lot of people are asking right now.
Right. And to get to the bottom of this for you, we've assembled a really massive stack of sources today. I mean, we're looking at pages and pages of Reddit threads from, highly skeptical consumers. We've got the official product advertorials, peer-reviewed clinical literature on the human oral microbiome, and a very comprehensive product dossier.
Which details literally everything,
Yeah,
from the clinical outcomes to some pretty intense supply chain complaints.
exactly. So our mission today is to just cut through all that aggressive marketing, bypass the internet outrage, and uncover the actual truth about this viral oral probiotic.
Yeah.
Because the hook here is, well, it's wild. Think about it. For our entire lives, we've basically been taught that oral hygiene is a war zone, like a scorched earth campaign.
Oh, absolutely. The ultimate binary approach to health, right?
Yeah. You go to the store, you grab the absolute strongest alcohol mouthwash you can find, you endure that terrible chemical burn, and you just nuke the entire place.
Right, because we are sold this idea that you have to kill 99.9% of germs on contact. We've been completely conditioned to believe that a totally sterile, squeaky clean mouth is a healthy mouth.
And it is such a comforting thought. You feel the burn, you smell that intense mint, and your brain just says, okay, great, the enemy has been defeated, my teeth are safe.
But then you look at the core premise of a product like ProDentim.
Right, and suddenly that whole scorched earth philosophy is just flipped completely upside down. While traditional dentistry tells us to, kill all the bacteria, this product is claiming we should actually be adding 3.5 billion bugs back into our mouths.
Which sounds crazy at first. To understand why people are so polarized by this, why you have, people calling it an absolute miracle and others screaming that it's a scam, we first have to understand just how wild that repopulation premise sounds.
Compared to what we've been taught, yeah.
Exactly. When you use those traditional mouthwashes and those harsh pastes, they do not discriminate. They wipe out the pathogens that cause cavities, sure, but they also completely wipe out the beneficial bacteria that your mouth actually desperately needs to function.
Okay, so I'm trying to visualize this. It feels like looking at a forest that has some invasive weeds growing in it, right? The traditional dental approach is basically just pouring bleach over the entire forest.
That's a brilliant way to picture it.
Right, because yes, the weeds are gone, which is what you wanted,
Right.
but so are the trees, the soil nutrients, the entire ecosystem. And then what happens a few hours later? The weeds just grow back. And usually they grow back faster and stronger because there's literally nothing left to compete with them.
Precisely. And that vicious cycle is exactly what the field of biological dentistry is trying to address. If you look at the clinical sources we pulled for this deep dive, they point out that this constant microbial imbalance, that barren, bleached forest you mentioned, is actually a primary cause of chronic bad breath, progressive cavities, and gum inflammation.
Even in people who brush and floss religiously.
Yes. Which has to be, the most frustrating thing in the world.
Oh, I'd be furious. You do everything right, you endure the chemical burn twice a day, and you sit in the dentist chair only to be told your gums are inflamed and you have early stage decay.
Right. So biological dentistry, and by extension this ProDentim chewable, introduces a repopulation strategy. The entire goal is to deliver 3.5 billion colony-forming units, or CFUs, of beneficial bacteria directly into the oral cavity. And the mechanism they rely on is called competitive exclusion.
Okay, hold on. I need to jump in here and play the skeptic for a second because I was deep in those Reddit threads. 3.5 billion CFUs sounds like a massive made-up marketing number. Is that actually a significant amount of bacteria, or is it just a drop in the bucket compared to what's already living in our mouths?
Well, it's a great question. Your mouth does contain tens of billions of bacteria at any given time, but delivering a concentrated burst of 3.5 billion specific targeted strains is highly significant. Competitive exclusion simply means you're introducing so many good bacteria that they literally crowd out the pathogenic microbes.
So if we think about the gums and teeth like an overcrowded concert venue, if the good bacteria rush in and take up all the front row seats, the bad bacteria just have nowhere to sit.
Exactly. They can't attach to the teeth.
So they just get washed away when you swallow.
Right. They compete for the adhesion sites on your enamel and gum tissue. And because you are constantly reinforcing their numbers with the supplement, They win that competition.
Okay, so planting aggressive good seeds to choke out the weeds sounds amazing in theory. But like I said, those Reddit users are flat out calling this herbal snake oil.
Okay.
So it's one thing to have a nice philosophy about biological dentistry, but I need to know if the clinical science actually backs up the specific physical ingredients inside this little tablet.
And this is where we have to look past the flashy marketing and dig into the actual formulation, because you really went through the clinical data for the specific strains, right? What did you find?
I did, yeah. And I have to admit, when I first opened the dossier, I was fully expecting to see some generic gut probiotics that they just, lazily repurpose for the mouth.
Right, which happens all the time in the supplement industry.
Exactly.
Mm.
But that is not what this is at all, and I was honestly genuinely impressed by the science here. But I am going to need you to help me translate some of this medical jargon.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so the first major ingredient is a strain called Lactobacillus reuteri. We have data here from the Journal of Oral Microbiology confirming that this specific strain has antifungal effects against oral candida. But how does a bacteria fight off a yeast infection in the mouth?
It does that through a very specific mechanism. Lactobacillus reuteri synthesizes a compound called reuteri. Yeah, reuteri is essentially a broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent that the bacteria produces naturally. It secretes this substance, which actively inhibits the growth of pathogenic fungi like candida, as well as harmful bacteria.
Wait, that is wild. The bacteria is basically manufacturing its own localized antibiotics.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. And the dossier also says this strain directly reduces gum inflammation by suppressing, quote, pro-inflammatory cytokines. What exactly is a cytokine?
Think of cytokines as the chemical alarm bells of your immune system. When your gums detect harmful bacteria, they release cytokines to trigger inflammation, which brings blood and immune cells to the area.
Which is why your gums swell and bleed.
Right. And Lactobacillus reuteri essentially sends chemical signals that muffle those alarm bells. It basically tells your immune system, hey, the threat is being handled, you can calm the swelling down.
So it is actively negotiating a peace treaty with your immune system.
I love that.
Okay, the next strain in the formula is Bifidobacterium lactis, B.L.Zophore. And the sources link this one to respiratory health, which initially really confused me. Because how does putting a bug in my mouth protect my sinuses and throat?
Well, you have to remember that the mouth is the primary gateway to both the respiratory and digestive tracts. They aren't isolated systems, right? BL4 modulates mucosal immunity.
Meaning the lining of your mouth.
Yes, the mucous membranes in your mouth and throat form a continuous barrier. By populating the oral cavity with this strain, it strengthens that physical and immunological barrier. That makes it much harder for upper respiratory pathogens to take hold and, travel down your throat.
Okay, so you are balancing your mouth, but you are accidentally building a shield for your throat and sinuses in the process. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But the tablet isn't just those 3.5 billion CFUs, right? There is an entire supporting matrix of ingredients that I really want to unpack here.
Yeah, the supporting ingredients are crucial.
So, for instance, it contains inulin, which is described as a prebiotic fiber derived from chicory root. Now, I don't know if you have probiotics or the bugs, but what is a prebiotic? How does a bacteria consume chicory root?
A prebiotic is essentially fertilizer for the probiotics. Bacteria are living organisms. They need fuel to survive, multiply, and colonize. Inulin is a complex carbohydrate that human bodies cannot digest, but these specific beneficial bacteria can ferment it and use it as an energy source.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it basically ensures the bacteria survive long enough to actually establish themselves in your mouth and gut.
Got it. Then we have peppermint, which the dossier says isn't just for a minty flavor, but actually provides localized anti-inflammatory effects while neutralizing bad breath compounds. And there's also tricalcium phosphate. The claim here is that it increases bioavailable calcium to remineralize subsurface enamel lesions. Can we get an ELI 5 on that? Explain it like I'm 5.
Sure. Think of microscopic decay on your teeth, like tiny potholes forming on a road. When bacteria produce acid, it dissolves the minerals in your enamel, creating these microscopic potholes. Okay. Tricalcium phosphate provides the exact raw materials, the asphalt, in this analogy, that your saliva needs to physically patch up those potholes before they turn into full-blown visible cavities.
It provides the building materials for the teeth to repair themselves. That is fascinating. But okay, here's the ingredient that absolutely stopped me in my tracks. Malic acid, which they derive from strawberries. The marketing claims it whitens teeth. Now, whenever I hear the words acid and teeth in the same sentence, I cringe.
Right, naturally.
Yeah. How on earth does strawberry acid whiten teeth without just melting the enamel away?
It is a very logical concern, and it's exactly why people are so skeptical on Reddit. But the mechanism here is incredibly clever. In this specific formulation, malic acid acts as an organic silagogue.
Okay, you are definitely going to have to translate silagogue for me.
A silagogue is any substance that promotes the secretion of saliva. Instead of acting as a harsh, abrasive scrubbing agent like the charcoal or baking soda you find in whitening paste,
Which literally scratch the surface of your enamel away.
exactly, the malic acid gently stimulates your salivary glands to produce more saliva.
But why do we want more saliva?
Because your own saliva is actually the most powerful buffer and cleaning agent your mouth possesses. It contains enzymes and minerals that constantly wash away debris. By safely increasing that natural saliva flow, it acts as a mild organic oxidizer on extrinsic dental stains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it brightens the teeth naturally through intense hydration and buffering rather than scratching the surface.
Leveraging the body's own cleaning mechanism instead of using sandpaper on our teeth. That is incredibly smart. Okay, so if the clinical science is this robust and the mechanisms make sense and the ingredients are this targeted, we have to ask the big question.
The complaints.
Yes. Why are there so many loud, angry complaints on the Better Business Bureau and Reddit? It is time for us to step back, be 100% honest, and just look objectively at the negatives here.
We absolutely have to because the complaints are very real, they're well documented, and they fall into a few distinct categories that consumers just need to be aware of. Let's start with the actual physical side effects.
Okay, let's go back to that prebiotic fiber we just talked about, the inulin. While it is great fertilizer for the bacteria in your mouth, you are eventually chewing and swallowing this tablet. And according to the user reports on Reddit, in the first few days of taking this, that inulin can cause mild bloating, gas, and gastrointestinal changes.
Which is a completely natural biological response, but obviously a highly unpleasant one if you aren't expecting it. Your gut flora is suddenly receiving a massive influx of a brand new prebiotic fiber that it's never had to process in these quantities before.
Right.
It shocks the gut ecosystem temporarily. For most people, this GI shift resolves in a few days as the gut adapts. But imagine taking a dental supplement for your gums and suddenly feeling bloated.
Oh, it causes a lot of anxiety and immediate negative reviews.
Yeah.
I would be panicking if I didn't know the mechanism behind it.
Exactly.
Then, moving beyond the physical side effects, there is a massive issue with expectation misalignment. I was reading a thread where a user was furious because their dentist still had to fill a cavity after they took this for a month. People are buying this product thinking it's a magic eraser.
Yeah, they expect it to miraculously regrow lost enamel or instantly heal a rotting tooth,
Right.
which is biologically impossible. We need to be very clear about the limits of probiotics. They can support a healthy environment. They can halt the progression of early microscopic decay by crowding out the acid-producing bacteria and providing calcium. But they cannot physically rebuild a structural hole in your tooth.
Exactly.
Once the enamel structure collapses into a cavity, you absolutely still need a dentist to drill and fill it. Probiotics are maintenance and prevention, not restorative surgery.
And then we get to the logistical nightmares, which is honestly where the Better Business Bureau is just lit up with complaints. There is a specific fulfillment center in Ohio Ship Smart LLC operating under the name Jetpack, with facilities in Akron and Tallmadge.
Yeah, the logistics side is where a lot of modern internet commerce just falls apart.
Users are reporting that when they try to cancel a recurring order or initiate a refund, they get trapped in these endless automated AI email loops. There is no human response. They send an email, a chatbot replies with a generic FAQ, they reply asking for a refund, and the chatbot just loops them back to the start.
This is a classic supplement industry trap. The underlying science of the biological dentistry can be completely sound. The ingredients can be high quality and clinically backed. But if the customer service infrastructure is a maze of AI chatbots designed to frustrate you into giving up, and the marketing sets entirely unrealistic expectations, it just creates a terrible, toxic user experience.
It really does. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, pun intended.
Ah, right.
But as frustrating as the AI customer service loop is, we discovered something in the sources that is vastly more concerning. And we need to transition to the darkest part of the ProDentim story right now. The Reddit community refers to it as the scam within a scam, and it is the main reason this search trend is so huge.
This is absolutely critical for anyone listening. We need to spend some serious time talking about the counterfeit market.
Yes, I want to be extremely clear and incredibly aggressive about this warning right now, strictly from a consumer protection standpoint. Please listen to me carefully. There is a massive, dangerous, and highly active counterfeit market for ProDentim, operating on major retail platforms like Amazon, eBay, and Walmart.
It's everywhere.
These fake bottles are not just a harmless waste of money, they are actively ruining people's teeth and compromising their health.
The scale of this counterfeit operation is alarming. Because the search volume for this product is in the millions, unauthorized third-party sellers and overseas factories are copying the branding, perfectly mimicking the label, and selling completely fake, potentially toxic products under the exact same name.
And you need to know exactly how to spout them to protect yourself. Authentic ProDentim is strictly manufactured as a soft, chewable tablet. It has to be chewable because the bacteria need to be released and colonize in your mouth. The dangerous fakes being sold on these third-party retail sites are hard pills, capsules designed to be swallowed, or sometimes even liquid drops.
And if you look at the independent lab analyses of these fake Amazon capsules, the results are terrifying.
They really are.
Instead of the targeted 3.5 billion CFUs of delicate oral probiotics like L.Reuteri, these counterfeit capsules contain cheap, inert fillers. Worse, some contain totally incorrect bacterial strains like Bacillus,
Which is a soil bacteria.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a hardy, soil-based organism that has absolutely no business being in an oral care supplement. Others just contain random cheap ingredients like elderberry powder and vitamin C.
Meaning they contain zero active oral probiotics. They have absolutely no mechanism to help your teeth. So you have thousands of people buying these convincing fakes on Amazon because of, the prime shipping, swallowing hard capsules of soil bacteria, watching their gum disease get progressively worse, and then leaving one-star reviews saying the whole concept of ProDentim is a scam.
It is a massive consumer protection crisis.
It is. The only safe way, and I mean the absolute only safe way to get the real, authentic formula with the live 3.5 billion CFUs is by using the official manufacturer link. We have put the verified official link right in the description of this deep dive for you to use.
It really is the only way to ensure you aren't putting unverified, potentially harmful counterfeit capsules from an unregulated warehouse into your body.
Exactly. We are not a sales show, but we are here to advocate for your safety. Do not roll the dice on Amazon or eBay with your health. Use the official link in the description. Furthermore, buying through that official link is the only way you are protected by the 60-day ClickBank refund guarantee. Those third-party sellers on eBay will disappear the moment you ask for your money back.
Which logically brings us to the commercial reality of this product. If the official route is the only safe route to get the real chewables, we need to examine how their supply chain actually works, because that ClickBank guarantee directly intersects with those frustrating Ohio fulfillment center complaints we discussed earlier.
Okay, let's break down the official pricing structure because the psychology behind it is fascinating. It's a tiered system. You can buy a single bottle for $69. A 3-bottle package is $177. And then there is the highly promoted 6-bottle discount package for $294, which brings the cost way down to $49 a bottle. They heavily incentivize that 6-bottle bundle by including 2 free digital guides, Bad Breath Gone and Hollywood White Teeth at Home.
Now, obviously, from a business perspective, they want to sell you more product. But if we look at the clinical literature regarding the human microbiome, that 6-month timeline actually makes biological sense.
How so? Because at first glance, it just looks like they're trying to lock you into a massive purchase.
Well, it takes time to alter an ecosystem. The clinical data shows that while you might notice fresher breath and less morning film on your teeth in a matter of days, truly reducing your plaque indexes, lowering inflammation, and permanently altering the gum tissue environment requires sustained repopulation.
Okay.
It takes roughly 6 months for a new microbiome to fully stabilize. If you just take it for a week, you're not going to fundamentally change the flora of your mouth long term.
That makes perfect sense. You can't plant a forest in a week. But listeners need to be hyper-aware of the logistics if they decide to secure that 6-bottle discount before stock runs out. We mentioned the 60-day ClickBank guarantee. ClickBank is a massive, highly secure merchant network. The guarantee is ironclad. But the strict physical return logistics are exactly why people end up trapped in those AI email loops.
Right. To get your money back within those 60 days, you cannot just send an email and expect a digital refund. You must physically package up all of the bottles you purchased, even the empty ones you have already consumed, and physically ship them back to that jetpack facility in Ohio. And you, the consumer, are responsible for paying the return shipping postage.
Which is a huge hassle. Imagine you bought 6 bottles. You decide it's not for you after a month. You now have to find a box, pack up one empty bottle and 5 full ones, drive to the post office, and pay postage to ship it to Ohio. People don't want to do that, so they try to email customer service to negotiate a simpler refund, and that is how they get caught in the AI chatbot trap. The secret is, if you just follow the strict physical rules and mail the bottles back, ClickBank processes the refund automatically within 24 hours of tracking delivery. You bypass the AI entirely.
It's also worth noting the supply chain reality that drives this model. Because of the high global demand and the fact that biological changes require that long 30 to 60-day runway, the official stock frequently runs out. This is another reason the 6-bottle bundle is pushed so heavily. It secures your personal supply without you having to wait on back orders right as your microbiome is starting to shift.
Right, you want to secure that 6-bottle discount before they're gone. So what does this all mean? Let's bring this deep dive to a close. We set out today to answer a very specific question. Is ProDentim a scam? Based on our stack of sources, the clinical data, and the user reports, the answer is no. The core product itself is not a scam. It represents a very legitimate, clinically backed shift toward biological dentistry, utilizing proven strains like L.Reuteri and organic sialagogues like malic acid to naturally repopulate and buffer the mouth.
But its reputation is currently surrounded by an absolute minefield of issues. You have the incredibly dangerous Amazon counterfeits tricking consumers, you have to navigate temporary mild GI side effects from the inulin prebiotics, and you have to be fully prepared for the strict physical return logistics if you want a refund.
Yeah, it is a solid, fascinating scientific concept trapped in a wild, modern internet commerce ecosystem. But looking at all of this leaves us with something really profound to think about.
What stands out to you the most after going through all this data?
Think back to that bleached forest analogy we discussed at the very beginning. If our mouths, our immune systems, and even our respiratory health are truly this deeply dependent on a delicate, living bacterial balance, what does that mean for the daily chemical rinses and harsh abrasive pastes we've been blindly using our entire lives?
It is a sobering thought. We assume we're doing the responsible thing by aggressively sterilizing our mouths twice a day.
Exactly. But have our daily aggressive hygiene routines actually been creating the very microbial imbalances that lead to our expensive dental bills? Are we the ones accidentally destroying our own ecosystem and making ourselves vulnerable to decay? It's definitely something to ponder the next time you stare down a bottle of blue alcohol mouthwash in your bathroom cabinet. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay safe. Make sure you use the official link to avoid those dangerous counterfeits, and we will see you next time.